you guys, it's episode 23 of War Stories. I'm going to get straight into it, but before I do, you already know, I need to take care of some household business. So check it out, man. Some of you have been asking about Bobby, the homeboy that came on the channel for the purpose of setting the record straight with respects to what happened to that dumbass Lencho. That was the whole purpose for Bobby coming on and giving an interview. Some of you have been asking, when's Bobby coming back? When's Bobby coming back on the channel? When's Bobby coming back on the podcast? Bobby didn't come on the podcast. It was a one-hitter quitter. His whole purpose was to just come on the channel and set the record straight. That's it. Not to get any recognition, not to to try to get any type of fame off of Lencho. There's nothing to gain from Lencho's dumbass. But he just wanted to set the record straight, and I understand that. And even myself, I was always under the impression that Fast Eddie did it. I talked to Fast Eddie. He told me he did it. And again, man, hey, shout out to Fast Eddie. I don't know if, he might have had another reason why he took responsibility for that. Maybe he didn't want to throw homeboy out there. I don't know. I don't care. But when I heard that Bobby wanted to come on and set the record straight, I was like, hell yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? If this is what really happened, I most definitely want you to come on and clear that up, because I'm a stickler for facts. You guys know that. That's how I've always been, and that's how I'm gonna continue to be, man. So, Bobby watches YouTube. Bobby says he taps in every now and then, so I'm sure he'll hear about this. And I told Bobby, hey man, if you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome. It'll be an honor, bro. You know what I mean? I'm sure Bobby got a lot of good stories, a lot of good information that could be helpful to a lot of youngsters, if not even the channel, just the channel in general. I'm sure he'll reach out and he'll let it be known, man, that that's something that he wants to do. So, we'll see what happens, man. You know what I mean? I'm putting it out there for those, because there's a lot of you that have been asking. You guys feel his vibe. You guys feel his, his homeboy's animated, good ass dude, man. Solid homeboy, man. And again, when I think back on that whole situation that he got into, man, it's a shame, man. There's a lot of homeboys like Bobby that end up falling wayside behind a tyrant or somebody with a heavy hand, man. It's sad, man. But that was another example. But anyway, moving on, man. So it's been about a week since we dropped any content. You guys need to understand, man. Sometimes life's everyday situations get in the way. Sometimes I hit a snag this last week. And if I'm not sick, somebody else is sick or something else is distracting me. The days go by fast. I know I sound like a broken record, but they do. Sometimes I'll get distracted with something that I got to take care of outside of YouTube. And by the time I'm done, it's already 5, 6 o'clock. Day's already gone. I'm like, fuck it. I'll do it tomorrow. Next day, I'll get distracted. Something else. Boom. 3 days gone. 4. I think time goes by faster as you get older. It's already 2023. I just put my fucking Christmas tree back in the box. Yeah, that's right. I got an artificial tree. So what, man? I just put it back in the box, and it's already time to take that motherfucker out, man. I'm going to start leaving it out. God damn, man. 2023 already, man. That's a shame. Isn't that a trip, though, man? When you're young, you want time to hurry up and move because you want to get older so that you can go to the store and buy some liquor, or you can go to the nightclub and be able to get in and go party and shit. You want to be older. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be looked at as a kid, a youngster, a little kid. And then when you get older, you get mad when people card you because, motherfucker, I ain't old. You know what I'm saying? I'm young. It's that's that reverse effect, man. But hey, man, if we don't put out content, it's usually for a good reason, because, man, over here, PMN, like I've been telling you guys, we're gonna keep dropping content, all gas, no brakes. It's got to be that something came up, and as soon as it gets situated, we'll be right back on, man. You guys been seeing how we've been doing it since the last time I ended up getting sick. We've been dropping as much content as we could put out. and we're gonna continue to do that, man. Anyway, so last situation, last issue. If you guys got any questions and you want them in the Q&A, man, put them in the community section. I'm probably gonna start working on that Q&A and finalizing it over this weekend. There's a lot of good questions. I've been finding them everywhere. Some of them off of my Instagram, some of them off the community, some in the promo video for Q&A 29. So there's a lot of good questions, man, and I'm gonna try to get as many as I can. The best ones are gonna take priority, because there's a lot of you that have a lot of good questions, but obviously I can only do so many, because you guys ain't gonna watch a Q&A that's 3 hours long. So anyway, that's that, man. So let me get on to this next story. So before I get into this, man, I just want to say this. A lot of you have been asking about some of these war stories that I talk about, if I feel remorse. Well, this is one I actually have a little bit of remorse for. This is one I do have remorse for. And, I do got a conscience now. Some of you ask if I think about it. In retrospect, I do, man. I get it now. I'm older, I'm wiser, and I look at the world with a broader lens now, for lack of a better term. And we don't do that when we're youngsters. When you're a young gang member and you're out there ripping and running and tearing shit up in the streets, you can't have a conscience. You can't have a conscience. You have to either learn how to suppress it or just completely just ignore it, man. Because you can't live that lifestyle and really be out there doing it if you have a conscience, if you feel bad for the people that you're hurting. But as you get older and you look back and you see the damage that you've caused, the hurt that and the pain that you've inflicted on other people, then you realize, what you've done. I've talked about that a lot, man. So those of you that think I don't have remorse, or, man, I feel bad for all the burglaries that I did, the robberies. Like I said, I'm at a point in life now where I just kick back, kind of chill, man. I try to get the little things in life that I enjoy. A bike, my truck. Those are like my two toys. That's it. I have other things, but my point is I bought those. I'm buying them. I pay for them every month, and I put a lot of pride into them. They're nice. I put money into them, and if somebody was to come by, bust the window on my truck, go in, tear out all my speakers, tear out my system, oh man, I go fucking crazy. So I think back to the people that I did that to, and I can imagine how they feel now. Now I get it. It's a trip how that works, huh? And it's the same thing with people that I've hurt in the past. In retrospect, I look back on it now, and but I want that to be my little brother, or an uncle or a cousin. Nah, man, I wouldn't. I'm very protective of the little bit of family that I do got, and if somebody was to inflict some type of harm on them, for one, I wouldn't appreciate it. For two, I'm gonna react. I'm gonna have a reaction. So I get it, man, and I do have remorse, and I do feel bad about some of the shit that I've done in the past. Now, this story I'm gonna tell you guys about, this is a prime example right here. This is one that I do have remorse for, and I've thought about it over the years. The other day I did a profile on Paniagua, Rodrigo Paniagua. And this is that individual that had two little girls. I think one was 3 and one was 5. And then he had a girlfriend, and he stabbed all 3 of them to death. Stabbed all 3 of them to death, and then burned the house. He torched the house, tried to burn the pad down. That story, just based on the fact that they were children, is bad enough, man. But anytime you stab somebody, it's very personal. It's up close and personal. And for those of you that have lived that life, man, that were out there in the streets and have stabbed somebody, I'm sure you guys know what I mean when, I was talking about that story and it made me remember an individual that I stabbed when I was around 17, 18 years old from Excelsior. And it was one of the first stabbings, one of the real stabbings, one of the first real stabbings that I had, that I did out there on the streets. And it changed me, man. When I talked in that story about stabbing somebody and feeling the air come out of their body, I wasn't bullshit, man. For those of you that have stabbed somebody, you know what I'm talking about. When you're stabbing somebody, you can feel the way I described it in the profile is like a trembling, you can feel their body through the weapon, through the knife, man. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it changes you. It does, man. When you take a fucking knife, a blade, and you stick it in somebody and you continue to run it up in them, it not only changes you, but you can feel it. And like I said, it's about as up close and personal as you can get. Anybody can take a fucking gun and shoot somebody. How hard is that, man? It's not hard. It's easy, man. Anybody can point a gun at somebody and pull the trigger. But to stab somebody, it's a lot different. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, man. So, this situation, it kind of ties into a couple different situations that led up to what ended up happening in the end. But let me just take you guys back to this was around 1987. So, and I'm not going to use the names because these individuals, some of them are still around, and some of their family is still affected by some of the things that happened, and the individual that I ended up getting is still affected by it, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So, it started out with, I was young. I was already addicted at the age of, well, you guys know I got addicted at the age of 12, 13. So check it out, man. This right here is a good example of me being remorseful. This story right here. So there was three brothers there's three brothers and two sisters. They were a big family. They used to live in Excelsior. And I'm not going to say their names because this situation right here, one of them passed away already, and what happened, it still affects the one that I ended up stabbing till this day, and you guys are going to understand why. So anyway, so there's three of them. And I had different relationships with all three. One of them, the older one, he never used to come by my pad. The only time I used to really fuck with that dude is when I'd go by their pad and we'd be kicking it. We'd smoke KJ, we'd drink beer, we fucking party. That was the extent of really my involvement with the oldest one. At the time I was only 15. He was a lot older than me. So the second one, he was the type of cat that I would kick it with him. We'd go out on the street, we'd kick it. We used to get in, his thing was going after bitches. He used to like to drink. He liked to smoke KJ. And he was kind of like a party type of dude, man. That was his thing. He liked the party scene. The third one was more like me at that time. This motherfucker would get involved in whatever and whatever. Drinking, partying, robbing, ripping and running the streets, bitches, everything, man. Whatever I got involved in, or whatever kind of shit out there I was gonna get involved in that night when I'll be with him, he was down with it, man. So that one individual right there, that same one, he'd be pulling all-nighters sometimes. He'd be out drinking all night. And I used to live about 2 miles away from him. So sometimes he'd pop up at my house at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And by this time, I'm 15. I'm obviously still using dope. You guys know I got addicted to that shit when I was 12 years old. So he would pop up at my door like at 4 or 5 in the morning. He'd be like, hey man, let me get a taste. He'd be all drunk, smelling like a fucking brewery. Had been out all night, pulling an all-nighter. And, you know, sometimes I tell him, hey, nah, bro, you can't be here, man. Mom's and Pops is here, bro. You got to go. Sometimes if they weren't there, I'd tell him, hey, you got to come in here, make it quick, bro. I'm going to give you a little something to get the fuck up out of here. They don't want you here, bro. You know, they were slinging dope, and I understand why they didn't want traffic there. You know, at the time I didn't understand it, but now I do. Anyway, so this one particular morning, he comes in. He wants a little, he was like, give me a cotton, anything, man. Just let me get a little taste of that shit, right? So I take a little piece. It was like a dime bag, man. That's all it was. This was back when they used to sell that El Salvadorian hardball, the shit that was cut with lactose, the brown shit that they used to put in balloons. So anyway, I give him a little dime piece. I throw it in the cooker, cook it up for him, and this fool couldn't even hit himself. He wasn't like a regular dope fiend. It was just every now and then he used to like to get down, right? So I hit him. Bow. I turned around, and it wasn't even 20 seconds. I turned around, I'm cleaning the outfit, and I look back, and he's laying on my bed. He just laid back because he was sitting on my bed when I hit him. So I look over and I tell him, hey, bro, you got to go, homie. Nah, man, you can't fucking sleep here, bro. You know what I mean? I know you've been out all night, but you got to fucking go. So he don't respond. So I smack him a couple times. Hey, get your ass up, bro. He still don't move. So then I grab him by his shirt, and I'm like, bro, you need to get up, homie. And I lift him up, and when I lift him up, fucking blood just gushed out his nose like a fucking faucet, man. It just came fucking shooting out, man. It was crazy. And it got all over my bed, all over him. Like, I had to lay him back to stop it. It was gushing out, man. I never seen that happen before. I had seen people OD, but I never seen that happen where somebody just started bleeding out of their nose. And the amount of blood was fucking crazy. So I didn't know what to do. I wasn't gonna give him no mouth to mouth, like, you know what I mean. He had blood all over his face. I didn't know how any motherfucking way. But the thing was, so I'm listening to him. He's breathing, but his breathing was labored. It was almost like he was straining to breathe. So I'm like, man, I better call 911. I know my mom's gonna be mad, but she's gonna be twice as mad if this motherfucker dies in the house. You know what I'm saying? Shit, we ain't got no shovels. I think we only got like 2 black bags left. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I call 911. I'm like, hey, my friend, he's not responding. He's on the floor. I don't know what to do, man. So they send somebody over. They send an ambulance. I clean up, hide everything real quick. Ambulance comes, fire department comes. So I walk him in, and they start working on him. They're like, what's wrong with him? He's not responding. I don't know, man. I don't know what's wrong with the dude. And they're like, look, man, we don't give a fuck what he did. We don't care if he used drugs. We're not here to arrest nobody. We don't care. We need to know what he did so that we can treat him. We know what to treat him for. I'm like, I don't know, man. He uses heroin. I know that. So they fucking grab some shit. It's probably that Narcan or whatever that shit's called. And they give it to him. Boom. Bow. Not even 10 seconds later, he pops up. So he wakes up and you know, he's still groggy and shit, but he looks around. He's like, get off me. And they're like, nah, you coming to the hospital. And he's like, nah, man, nah, bro, you are. And you got to go, man. All you motherfuckers got to go. So they end up taking him out. They took him out, took him to the hospital. Well, this ended up being a big thing, man. His brothers, they all found out, obviously. He ended up in the hospital. He OD'd. I guess he fucking told him. He came over to my place. I gave him too much. So later on that evening, one of the older brother came by with the other one. He waited back like on the sidewalk. And then there was somebody else in the car. Anyway, he came up to my door all crazy. He was like, hey, man, check this out, man. He was like, that shit you fucking do, Don't fucking get that to my fucking brother no more, man. I don't give a fuck if he's asking you for it. You don't give it to him. You know what I'm saying? Motherfucker almost died and shit. My mom this, my dad. I don't give a fuck, man. Your brother's old enough to fucking make choices of his own. I'm fucking 15 years old and this motherfucker's telling me not to give his 20-something-year-old brother no dope. I'm like, hey man, you fucking don't come over here disrespecting my pad, bro. Don't come over here disrespecting my mom's pad. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, get the fuck up out of here, man. So we had words. Now, there's another homeboy that all four of us at times we used to kick it. He's a good ass dude, solid dude from Excelsior. And I call him up and I tell him, hey, look, bro, this is what happened. I run it down to him and he's like, man, fuck that punk. Let's go get him, bro. You know what I'm saying? That motherfucker wants to act like he's tough now. And this homie that I called, he's a sav, man. You know, he was somebody I looked up to when I was younger. He's somebody that you know, I used to glorify this motherfucker because he in the streets, when it came to putting shit down in the streets, he was a sav, man. So anyway, what ends up happening is me and him, he calls the older brother and he's like, hey, he was like, I got a Lanyo, let's go get some beers and let's go fucking kick it, bro. So he has no idea that I'm with him. So anyway, we pick him up. He sees me in the car, and at first he starts trying to get loud right there. As soon as we pull up in front of the house, he's like, nah, man, I'm cool. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, hey, bro, you know, we're all homies, man. He's like, fuck all that, man. Come on, bro. Let's just take a drive. So anyway, we drive up there to McLaren Park, and when we get there, you know, me and him are really not talking. The whole time we're driving up there, the other homie's just kind of mediating, and he's just kind of like just trying to keep this fool tied off until we get him up to McLaren Park. So we get him up to McLaren Park. First thing I do is I get out the fucking car. I'm mad now. This fool wants to start barking, beating his chest. He disrespected my mom's pad. So we get out. The homeboy, when they both get out the car, the homeboy walks up to him. He's like, hey, bro, he's like, check this out. He was like, you know, I've been knowing you for a long time, such and such, you know what I mean? And you know, we've had our issues in the past, but this is the motherfucking homie right here. And his mom, that's like my fucking mom, you know what I'm saying? And you know how I feel about her, man. And, you know, he's like, what's this shit about you going over to his pad, this, you know, earlier today, you know, disrespecting the pad, bro? What's up with that? And homeboy's like, you know, he starts again like, man, you know, this dude's a little dope fiend, and you know, every time my brother goes around him, you know, shit like this ends up happening. My brother's gonna end up ODing, and I'm like, man, fuck you, punk ass bitch. And he's like, man, fuck you, right? So we get into it. We square off and we start going at it. And when me and him start going at it, the homeboy snaked him. He snakes him from the side, and we both get on this fool, and I'm telling him, nah, bro. I stop and I'm like, nah, I don't want to pack this dude out. They're like family to me, man. All of them except this dude right here have been around my family. They've been around my mom and stepfather. They've been to the pad. They broke bread. This was the only one that hadn't been there. So I kind of looked at them like family. I knew their mother and father. I knew their two sisters. I used to kick it at their fucking pad. So I didn't want to fucking pack homeboy out like that, man. So we start going at it. It's just me and him. We do our thing, and I whoop this fool. I whoop him bad too, man. He's older, but he's not in shape, and I'm young, man. I got youth on my side at that time, and I was a pretty big youngster, and this was around the time when I was boxing too, man. So I get this, at some point I get him on the ground and I'm straddling him. I'm sitting on his back. I got him on the ground. He's on his stomach, so I'm sitting on top of his back, and I'm wailing on him. I'm hitting him all headshots, pop, 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 and I stop. catch my breath. I get tired. Then I take off on him again. Bop, 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 bop. And he's trying to get up, but he can't get me off him. Every time he tries to get me up, I push him back down and I hold him down. So anyway, at one point, when I'm socking this fool, I see a rock. I pick up the rock and I start smacking him in the head with it. Bop, bop, bop. I hit him in the head like 5-6 times, and before I was gonna keep hitting the motherfucker, man. I was gonna keep hitting him in the head with the rock, man. You know what I'm saying? But the homeboy grabbed me by he grabbed my arm. He took the rock and he was like, "Nah, bro." He's like, "You're gonna fucking get his full brain damage." He's like, "Nah, man, just whoop his ass, man." So I start wailing on him again. At some point, I grab another rock and I start cracking him on the other side. Homeboy grabs me again. He lets me get back on him for a little bit longer. I'm taking all face and head shots, man. Elephant man this fool. I elephant manned him. Put it like this. Later on, I would hear through one of his sisters. His sisters were mad at me. His mom, dad, his other brothers, they were all mad because they were saying, they called my house again. They called me and basically were saying, you know, it's fucked up what you did to such and such. You know, we had to take him to the hospital. His head was so swole. His face was so swole that he had to hold his eyes open in order to see his way home, in order to get home. I mean, he was fucked up pretty good. But that, you know, in all this escalated over this cat coming by getting some dope, man. So anyway, I'm gonna say around a week later, man. Cause I used to run around in Excelsior, man. So at that time I was living on London and Persia. So I was with 2 other homies and we were smoking a leño that night. We were dusted. And I remember getting out of the homeboy's 67 Impala. I got out and I was going to knock on the homeboy's door and a car pulls up and it's the older homie and the older brother and some other cat. I don't know who he is. All I know is that some cat that just got out the joint. Never seen him. I didn't even remember what he looked like. But I was walking, so we're parked on the sidewalk and there's 2 other homeboys that I was with in the car, but they were fucking dusted. They couldn't even move. Like, I'll tell you, later on they would tell me that they seen everything happen, but they couldn't get out of the car because they were so fucked up. So anyway, I was just as fucked up. I got out and I'm walking up to this homeboy's door. And that should tell you how fucked up we were right there. We were parked on the sidewalk. So anyway, car pulls up. The older brother and some other cat jump out and they start letting me have it, man. I can't fight back because I'm fucking high on KJ. And they're thrashing me. And I remember, man, I remember seeing these cats and I remember it happening, but it was almost like everything was in slow motion, man. I couldn't fight back. All I could do is just kind of like try to cover up and just try to get away from these fools' punches, man. So anyway, they did their thing, you know what I mean, knotted me up and take off. The other homies, man, at some point they get out the car and they're like, bro, you know what I mean? I was trying to get out, but it was like I'm moving in slow motion and you know what I mean? That KJ, that's some raw, we had some motherfucking blue rock. That shit to have you fucked up. So anyway, they you know, he calls himself getting his little run backs around a week later. So I see the other brother, not the one that OD'd in my house, but the one that used to like to just go out and get bitches and smoke KJ and party. So I end up running into him about a good week after that. And at this time, man, it was on between us. You know, I wasn't going by fucking with them dudes, and it was me and the homie trying to catch those dudes slipping. We drive by their pad, and it was on, man. It was on. So I run into the other brother, and I see him walking one night. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And me and this other cat were up to no good. We were looking for a fucking house to burglarize, and this fool comes up drunk, talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Talking shit, man. He was like, motherfucker. He was like, that shit you did with my brother. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I just let him have it. I bombed on him. I wasn't even trying to hear it, man. His brother had just packed me out, and this is after I could have packed him out with the other homie, but you know, I gave him a fair one, but he turned around and packed me out. You know what I mean? So, anyway, so I get on the other brother. We're going at it, and this dude was in no shape to fight, man. I socked him a couple times, and I dropped him. He got back up. I socked him again. He drops again. I sock him again. He dropped again. It was like he wasn't even fighting back. I kept telling him, bro, get the fuck away from me. Just get away from me, man. When you sober up, motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? I give you your run backs. He just kept coming at me. He kept coming at me, just like, you know what I'm saying? He was drunk. And I couldn't get this motherfucker to stop coming at me. I kept fucking kicking him and pushing him and dropping him. And so at one point, I pulled my blade out. And he kept coming at me, so it was the first time I stabbed somebody. This was the first time as a youngster, 15 years old, that I stabbed him. I stabbed him, man. And I was only going to stab him one time, man, but he kept coming back. So I ended up stabbing him 4 times. And I almost killed the dude. I don't think he even knew I was stabbing him. That's how fucked up he was. The other homie I was with, he was watching the whole thing, and he was like, bro, enough, homie. He was like, bro, put the blade away, B. He was like, come on, man. You fucking gonna kill this dude, bro. You know what I mean? And I was like, bro, get him away from me, man. Now he's leaking, and he's still coming at me. Anyway, he finally collapsed. He collapses, and we fucking bounce. We bounce. We get up to there's like a little corner store on the corner of Persia, one of those streets right there, and we call an ambulance for him. It's like, bro, call an ambulance. Like, homeboy needs medical care, man. You know what I mean? I knew I had stabbed him. I didn't know how many times. I found out later it was 4 times, but put it like this. I stabbed him so bad, I almost killed him, but because I had stabbed him, that incident right there would end up changing his whole life. He stopped smoking, KJ. He stopped drinking. He got into church. Like, it almost killed him, and it had a life altering change on him. You know what I mean? I've said that before in joking, like, you know, people end up getting their ass whooped so bad, or they end up getting shot or stabbed, and they get it so bad that, you know, it'll have a life changing impact on them. Well, that's what happened to homeboy. It fucked him up mentally to the point where he turned into a full-blown Christian. I mean, he stayed in the hospital for a while. I fucked his insides up, spleen. His guts were all fucked up. You know, I'm not sure how true it was, but I heard later on that his fucking intestines were fucking hanging out his fucking stomach. But it almost killed him, and because of that, he stopped fucking around. He stopped doing everything in the hood, man. He turned into a full-blown Christian and took his life in another whole nother direction because of that. Because he was on death's doorstep. That's what happened, man. I would end up seeing this dude. I swear to God, man. I would end up seeing him, throughout the years as I got older in the hood. And he was, the first time I seen him, I was thinking I'm gonna have to get him again. But the funniest thing happened, man. It's like when I seen him and I was getting ready to go for my blade, he walked up and he was like, bro, he was like, man, you know, he started crying. He was like, man, I'm sorry for what happened between us, man. And he's like, brother, I'd like to pray for you. You know what I mean? He was like, I'm a man of God now. And so out of respect, I let him pray for me, man. I let him pray for me, you know, and a lot of it was out of respect for him. And I felt bad. I felt bad because I felt like I caused it. You know what I mean? Years later, I would see him again, and every time I would run in this dude, he'd always stop and ask if he could pray for me. And there was never a time where I told him no. You know, I would let him. You know, that's one that's always it always bothered me for the not only because I knew this guy's family and it was personal for me, but also because just how it affected him, how it impacted his life, man. The dude, I don't know, maybe it was better for him, you know. It took him out of the gang life. It sometimes, you know, I've seen that happen to other homeboys. They're out there in the streets and they get into a situation where they get shot real bad or they get stabbed real bad, and it's a life-altering experience for them. They come that close to death and they realize, man, you know, I almost lost my life right now, and I don't want to be a part of that no more. And they go on to become Christians, and you know, they for the rest of their life they give their life to God. That's what happened to this homeboy. But that was the first time that I really stabbed somebody. And the cold part about it, again, man, is it was somebody that I knew. It was somebody that I used to kick it with. It was somebody that I broke bread with. Somebody that kicked it with my family. And it was somebody that, you know, whose family I used to kick it with. They never forgave me for it, man. You know, his brother ended up dying later. And it was never the same, even between with me and his mom. You know, I went to prison, came out, and the one that OD'd, he tried to bring me by the pad one time, just say hello to his mom after the first time I went to prison. But you know, I could tell that she still held a lot of resentment towards me because her son, he ended up dying. And it was just a conflict that it got carried away, but it was all over some dope, man. It's crazy. But anyway, man, I know this one wasn't one of my better ones, man. I got a phone call right in the middle of this motherfucker right here. You know what I mean? I probably could have did it better, but it's been a while since I dropped something, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop this one anyway. I got another banger for you guys next. I'm gonna try to get that out. If I don't get it out tonight, I'll get it out tomorrow. With that said, man, this is episode 23, War Stories. I got Inner Demons coming up, Cork and Shoe Wars, man. You guys ain't gonna want to miss it. With that said, I'm out.